Everyone hits a bump in the road. What do you do with it? Be inspired as we explore the ways people experience, navigate, and manage the ups and downs and twists and turns in this road trip called life. Welcome to another episode of Bump in the Road. The basic podcast is always free. We also have a premium subscription called Bump 2 that lets you listen in on extended behind-the-scenes conversations with our guests. Check it out at www.bumpintheroad.us. Marina Shakour-Haber's life has taken her through numerous cultures. She's had successes and failures that have forced her to pivot and take new paths. But perhaps her greatest pivot was a decision to pursue a spiritual life with meaning. Her book, Your GPS to Happiness, is about her path, her wisdom, and her sincere desire to help others find their best, most authentic life. Marina, welcome to Bump in the Road. Tell us your story, if you would.
Thank you so much, Pat. Well, my story is many things happened in my life that eventually led to my spiritual awakening, which I very much didn't want to have. I really honestly was, no, I'm good. I don't need that. The first one was, the major one was when my husband's business faced a dire situation. It was in the making, but I was really not paying attention to it. I was a young mother, and I somehow believed that things will find a resolution. I was very wrong. What happened was, now I'm pregnant with my second child, and it was September the 13th, and beautiful, beautiful morning, and I look out and I see about maybe 20 men and women in black. And they're walking down my driveway in my home in New Jersey. And they have a letter that allows them to confiscate everything from dawn till dusk because of an issue going on with my husband's business that had to do with the IRS and the status of the nurses that worked for him. And he had claimed them as independent contractors, but the government had decided that they need to be employees. Things could have been handled better on both sides, but that morning was for me a horrible event. The whole day I was truly trying to stay calm. And what I did, though, is I reached out to my mother, who was a very psychic and very spiritual woman. And she said to me, this is the time, Marina, when you can no longer carry this burden by yourself. You need to go within. You need to ask guidance from your angels, from your spirit guides. You need to ask for help, and you need to get more support because this is bigger than you are right now. So I learned to meditate and actually to first pray. It was more about prayer. 2 days after this event, I went up on top of the hill of my property, and very much like Scarlett O'Hara, there's this theme of Scarlett O'Hara going through my life. I stood on top of that hill and I vowed that I would never be down again and that I would make it no matter what I would have to do. I did not, unlike Scarlett, I was not going to be dishonest or kill or whatever she said, whatever it takes. So that was not part of my vision for the future. The reason why that happened to me, I believe, is that it needed to bring out the warrior in me and taking charge of my life, which truly I had to then do because my husband could no longer function, could no longer take care of our family and our well-being. So I started a couple of new business ideas. They mostly failed. And then I decided after a few years that we would go back into the very same business and start again, using the same name, being very transparent as to who we are. And we started the business, and it turned out to be very, very, very successful until I read a book. And it was a book written by a nun about some spiritual university, like a metaphysical university. And it ignited a spark in me that I could not shush. I could not blow it out. And I didn't want it to be there because I made plenty of money. My life was good. And I got offers for offers from people who wanted to buy the business. And I said, no, my life is good. I don't want to go any other direction. And as the universe has the last word in these things, things just stopped working out very well. The industry changed. I didn't change with the industry. And suddenly I was forced to close the business. And there I had yet another one of those epiphanies. I ran around the lake in my house in New Jersey. And on the other side of the lake, I thought, I'm going to have a heart attack. I was so overwhelmed with guilt, with responsibility, with feelings of failure and doom and gloom. And I heard a voice, and it said to me, at first I said, is this a heart attack? And then I heard the voice, no, it isn't. But if you keep this up, it will be. So then I heard, do your business, go your path, and do the business you are meant to do. Go. So I knew what that meant. I had to follow my spiritual path. I'd been feeling that I had to write a book. I had a feeling that I had to come out of my spiritual closet. I had not until then really admitted to my deeper thinking, my spiritual beliefs. And I had to study. Frankly, it was not only that you can wake up one morning and go, oh, I think I'm going to be this or that. You have to do the work. We cannot do something or be something without doing the work. So I started preparing to write the book. I had to study, I had to research, I had to really do that. And so I did. I wrote my first book, Dream a Better Dream. And then I realized I needed to learn to coach, because the book alone, it's nice, but what do you do with it? So I took coaching courses, I speaking courses. And then I had yet another epiphany, and it told me, I learned having to let go. I needed to let go of my white knuckling, of my control, of my which really underlying that is doubt and fear and worry that unless I white knuckle it, I can't make it. And so I let go of that. I surrendered. And that was an opening to let in, to allow things come to me, not stopping what I'm doing, but you need to go towards something so that it can come to you. It's that constant balance of the give and take, but you have to allow things to come in. And that was a real eye-opener for me. And it changed my perspective. And I had to learn to, this letting go, it's very hard. I had to physically let go of my things, which also meant a cleansing within to let go of things that no longer served me. And I did that. And I have to remind myself constantly of that, which is really essential because we all have to do that. It's a constant reminder of let go to let in.
Well, it's like the old Buddhist saying about attachment, and how attachment is the worst, is one of the most difficult things to let go of, but you have to let go of it. There's a great story, a Zen story about about the topics you're circling here, and you've probably heard this, but a very well groomed, well known, wealthy man comes to this Zen master to learn about and become enlightened, and the Zen master pours him a cup of tea. And he keeps pouring and pouring and pouring until the teacup overflows, flows onto this man. And he gets up and he's angry and he says, "What are you doing?" And the Zen master points out that until he comes back with an open mind and an empty teacup, he can't experience anything new. And I love that story because it's so true. Until we're willing to let go of some of our, preconceived beliefs and whatnot, we can't let anything new in.
Cannot. It's not possible. And letting go is hard to do. It's hard for us when we do it with the physical, when we have to let go of things. There's a lot of mourning. Oh my goodness, my life will never be the same. Oh, that brought me this, that. It's done though. It's over. When the energy leaves a room, when the energy leaves a body, something new has to come in. That's what it's for. But we hold on to it because we believe that that is the thing that keeps us safe. While nothing keeps us safe other than we keep ourselves safe through, though, also our awareness that there is something far greater about us and within us that keeps us safe.
I think the only safety it maybe is in presence, being intensely present.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I know I've been through bumps of my own, and I think when you look back, you get, you can be anxiety ridden. You look forward, you can be anxiety ridden. But if you can just be in this moment now is okay.
It certainly is. And here's what I found, an analogy that works quite well. When you are driving, you have to be within this moment, because you do have to pay attention to all your steering wheel, to your pedal, to your board. But you also have to look forward. You have to look what's ahead of you, but you're not attached to what is ahead of you. You're just seeing it being there. You also, as you look in your rear view mirror, you see what is behind you, but you're not attached to it. You just acknowledge it's there. I need to know where I came from. I need to know what's going on there. I need to know where I'm driving towards, but this is the moment that I am in. And that is, I believe, what we fail to do, because all we do is we focus on the moment out there in front of us. When I get there, I'll be happy. No, because that moment becomes this moment. And when you cannot appreciate this moment and be present in this moment, you'll never be out there, because it has to be here.
Well, and happiness is an inside
Yeah,
job.
truly.
One of the things you mentioned in your book that I think a lot of resonates with a lot of people is that you had feelings of being an outcast when you were younger. How has that worked for your benefit over time?
There was a moment I was at the American College in Paris, and as I stood there, and I was outside of all the groups of people. There were the Iranians, there were the Dutch, there were the Germans, there were the French. And I thought, I don't belong to any of them. And then I thought, look at that. But you belong to all of them. Look at that positive approach. Everyone you belong to, you just need to go there and be with them. It changed my thinking from that victim, oh my goodness, I don't belong. And then I realized that none of us believe that we belong anywhere until we accept that, yes, we do. We have to take that step to belong into a group. Outsider, we all come into this world thinking we are outsiders. And what I've learned in my studies, in my research into truly metaphysics, is that origin, the reason why we believe we don't belong, we are not enough, we are separate from everyone else, is originated from our fall of consciousness. We cut our connection with God, with spirit, with higher, with source, whatever you may want to call it. And from that very moment, we have this void within us, the non-belonging, the I am not good enough, I am not enough, there is not enough. And that originated from that point. The origin of that is the disconnect with our spirit, with our higher self. When you understand that, you can truly work on yourself to know that I am enough, I belong, but I have to do the work. I have to take the step forward and be part of whatever I want to be part of. We have to make a step so that it comes also towards us. But that was way later that I understood that. But I chose really, I don't know if I chose to be a victim then. It did hurt when I was younger, when I was such an outcast in my school, when we moved from Iran to Germany. That was very hard because they were mean. And today we have all these issues with bullying, but it's as old as the world bullying. It just today, in a different format. But we all need to go through that so that we become stronger.
Kids have always been mean, and I think it's one of the awful lessons everybody has to go
Yeah.
through.
And we need to do that in order to become stronger. That's really it.
One of the things you say is do the work. What do you mean by do the work?
I have a client who wants to be happier. She wants to have fun. She said, girls want to have fun. So I said, well, then what are we going to do about that? Well, I don't really want to do anything about it because I think I've done enough in my life. I've really had my challenges and I've done great. I've really done, and she has. And I want it to happen for me. I want that it comes to me. So I said, in that case, you're not going to experience it because it can't. You cannot have someone eat your pie for you. You have to eat it yourself. If you take a step, so in her case, I said she felt very lonely, and this is a common theme today, that many people feel so lonely, so alone, and COVID didn't help. So I said, well, then you need to take a step and first find out what is it that you want. Well, I want to belong to groups that I like. Okay, question, what do you like? So we need to do the work, which is very difficult, to find out what do we like? What do we want in life? Most people are very unclear about that, very vague. I wanted to just feel good. You need to know what feels good. So what I did tell her is find 50 things you like and 50 things you don't like, because very often the don't likes are the opposite of what we do like. So she figured out what she wants to do. Start out with having a group of people play mahjong. Great. Well, I want the group to come to me. No, you have to find a group. And then you can balance it and give out. Everyone can have their things, their chores to do to make it an ongoing group. And so she listened to me, and 4 weeks later, she found a group. She created a group, founded a group, and now they're playing. That's what I'm trying to say is we do have to do the work to have the things we want to have. Law of attraction has action in it. We have to create the vibration, the resonance within us that is calling for something to happen. But nothing happens unless we make it happen. Without action, nothing happens. So we do have to do the things.
I think that's so true. I think whenever you get stuck, and everybody gets stuck a little bit here or there, I think the first thing you have to do is bring in some energy. Take a step. It doesn't matter if it's the right step or the wrong step. Just bring that energy in and you will find your way.
Yeah, and small steps. Very often what we're
Yes.
trying to do, we try to get there faster, and therefore do more, do it faster. And that usually is the total opposite, because what happens, we get overwhelmed. If you want it to get there faster, do it slower. Take smaller steps, small, tiny steps, because then you don't overwhelm your subconscious mind, which will become your enemy. It cannot handle drastic changes. Small, great. And it feels better, and celebrate your successes. So often we go, oh, that's normal. No, it's not. Celebrate. That changes the energy.
Change can be your friend, I think. I think one of the keys, though, to lasting change is learning to release trauma. I think one of the things that you wrote was without releasing trauma, it imprisons you.
It imprisons you.
Talk about that a little bit.
Well, when we have trauma, very often it is trauma from our youth. And it can be a minor thing. In my book, I used a ridiculous example of how my mother didn't buy shoes for me. She bought a pair of shoes for my brother, but not for me. And I felt I was gypped, that I needed to get shoes as well. And what in my mind, I set up this belief, I am not good enough to get shoes. It had nothing to do with my mother. It had to do with my perspective. I have clients that have gone through tremendous childhood trauma. And when you hold this trauma within yourself, it is something that it is there. It doesn't go away unless you open it and you go and address it. It cannot hurt you anymore. It's past, it's done. But if you leave it in the shadows, in the darkness, you are creating a vacuum, and that vacuum, the steam starts boiling and steaming and cooking. And really, at some point, it's going to cause an explosion. The other thing that unresolved trauma does, because it is that darkness, the shadow within us, it affects our energy levels, our auras, the outer layer bodies of our physical bodies. And what happens is it goes out as a dark energy and affects us, changes that, and it comes back to us, because in the universe, everything has this pattern of going from the inside out and from the outside in. So as you bring it outside to your auras, it comes back to you. The darkness will then affect your physical body, and it will turn up as a disease, as something that you need to then heal physically. So you might as well address all your traumas, address them, deal with them, release them. It's work, as you just said. It is work to release them, so that you can therefore also, when you have a void, that you can let something new, something better, something higher, of higher value, fill that void, but must be released first.
You talk about universal laws. One of them was mentalism. I'm not sure I understand that.
The law of mentalism is that everything is mental. Everything is thought. Everything. The chair that we're both sitting on was created by thought. Everything originates from thought. Beyond that, though, thought has also their feelings, which are also can turn into thoughts. So, as I understood the way it to work was, there is thought that is creative, but that there are also feelings. And I say in my book, the feeling is the secret. So as I taught, there's thought, everything is thought, thought is creation. There's also feeling. Feeling is the secret. Does that eliminate the thought? Is that higher than the thought? Words make it happen. So what I realized is that it's on a circle. Everything is circular and secular in the universe. So here you have your thoughts. Your thoughts bring words. Words create actions, but it is the feeling that is the fire that ignites the thought, and then it turns around in the cycle. If you take, for example, cooking, your thoughts are your ingredients. Your words are, of course, the cooking, the action. And the outcome, of course, the action is then what you eat. But unless you have a fire, which is your feelings, you can't cook. So it's the energy of the feeling that gets you into emotion, so that you can go in. But yes, law of mentalism is, it's all about your thoughts. If you want to change your life, you need to change your thoughts. If you want to,
And then change the energy behind
exactly,
them.
then it's back to that action. Kick that energy up, get yourself going, and that's the feeling. And if you see, for example, that's what never got it, the feeling is the secret, is if you create the feeling of survival, of thrival, of being successful, of celebrating now ahead of being where you want to be, you are creating that feeling and getting yourself into action.
Where does karma come into play?
Karma. Well, karma is the dust that we have on our shoes from our previous journeys. Or we can also call it the souvenirs that we carry, not only from this life, from past lives that we carry with us, but we haven't been able to release them. We're coming back to this, the releasing of the trauma. So when you have a lot of souvenirs in your suitcase, it becomes a very, very heavy suitcase. and you cannot, again, fill new souvenirs into the suitcase. What we have in this world is that the souvenirs are heavy because the attachment to these souvenirs, the negative energy that have been created either in the souvenir, in the event of what we are carrying with us. So when you go, we can do karma within a lifetime. When you are a person that has a lot of bad memories, heavy memories, that in and of itself becomes your karma because it pulls you down. Karma is also something that we need to learn from. It is a lesson that we have not learned yet, and that keeps repeating itself and repeating itself until we finally go, click, I needed to learn that. And then you've learned it, you can let go of it, and it is released. Look at, for example, a book. It's chapters, many chapters. Sometimes you cannot go from one chapter to the next because you haven't learned it yet. So you keep repeating that same chapter. You just change the characters. Keep going until you get it. That's what I needed to learn. Then you can move on and you release the karma.
Oh, I think that's so true. And I think that all these things are very circular. They just they come back in your life again and again until you finally realize this is a lesson I have to learn.
I have to get it. When you see people, for example, you see often people dating and marrying the same kind of person over and over again. You see it very often in abusive relationships. The victim in the relationship always goes for another person that abuses them. Why is that? Because they have not learned to love themselves, to know what is going on within them, that they allow such abuse to happen, that they go for it time and time again. So there's a lesson in that I need to heal myself first. I have to become worthy myself, love myself, respect myself, so that I will not accept someone else to do this to me. Until you get that, it's happening again.
Yeah, and I think that it's so true that you have to embody a lot of these traits within yourself first before you can realize them in your life or give them to anybody else, like self-love, self-care, compassion. Until you learn compassion for yourself, how can you possibly have compassion for
You
others?
can't. You're absolutely right. You can't. If you don't love yourself, if you don't have compassion for yourself, you cannot give it to someone. You cannot give something you don't own. That is stealing. In that case, no, it doesn't really work. You have to really, and this is not narcissistic. Very often when we talk about this self-love, it feels like, such a narcissist. No, it is this deep inner spiritual experience of loving and accepting yourself. One of my clients this morning, she said, the other day, because we started out with her not liking herself very much, and she said, I was driving in the car and suddenly I saw my reflection in the mirror and I went, oh my goodness, I really love myself. Wow, that's beautiful.
Well, a lot of times I think, we talk about self-love and narcissism, but I think that that starts to confuse um, an internal methodology with our external world. And let me explain what I mean by that. I think that a lot of times in our society, we think self-love is I'll buy myself that pair of shoes, I'll get a new sweater, I'll shower myself with material things. But really, materialism has nothing to do with anything we're talking about. Everything comes from within.
Yeah, it's the external. If we believe that the external thing can bring us happiness or love or feeling good, wellness, we're completely off. That's not what this is about. It's far bigger, far deeper, far more profound than the quick high from that external object. As we've all known, when we buy that shiny, glittery object, yes, it does bring us a temporary excitement, but that flame goes out very quickly. The real work and the real love is the finding of who we are, the deep love for ourselves, all our shortcomings, all our quirky things, every part of ourselves that we accept and love for what it is. And that's really something that we need to acquire. It's something, it's a deep search within, and many people I have noticed are feeling very dubious about going there because of a fear of what they may find. And all I can say is that fear not, because what you will find is far greater than anything you have found before, because the power that we are, the power that is within us, is so much bigger than anything else we've ever touched upon. So it's really, after the first overcoming, the first discomfort of going there, it feels great. It's just like a warmth, a beautiful feeling of unconditional love.
Well, and what's the old saying? Fear is false evidence appearing
Yeah.
real. And most of our fears really have been imposed upon us.
Yes, they have, by society. All you need to do is you just turn on your television or your social media, and there is fear. It may happen. There may be a horrible event, and it may or may not be. But either way, I have no say over that event. The event I cannot change. I can change me, my response to the event. The other lady said to me, I need to deal with my stress better. I need to eliminate the stress in my life. Those were the words. I said, we cannot eliminate stress. The stress, it is not about the stressor. It is about how you eliminate the way you perceive your stress, how you react to it. That's the same with the evidence that we find out there that could potentially happen. They may or may not, but it is my perspective as to what I'm going to do. There are people who worry about now about what could happen next year. Oh, the economy could collapse. It could be. It also could not be. Why am I, though, putting myself into this anticipation of a negative outcome? Why? Let it go. When it comes, if or when it happens, we will deal with it. But today I can prepare myself that I can deal with it well. But worrying is a very negative emotion. There's nothing that can be gained or profited from by worrying. Being prepared is something else, but worrying and living in fear of a moment that may never happen puts us into that very negative state where we actually become more vulnerable.
Well, and one of the things we're talking about here too is learning to watch your thoughts. And that's really difficult for a lot of people. They are so wound up in their mind, in their to do list, and what's going to happen later today or next week, that they don't have the stillness or quiet that is needed to just even watch your thoughts. How do you get people there?
But I have started to work with a form of meditation that I bring them down to focus into, instead of having the multiplicity of foci, to one focal point, because we need to bring ourselves down, down, and down, because you're absolutely right. We can't have all of the fires burning in our head because we're going to be on fire. And that's not where we want to be. Again, it's the same as trying to get there faster. That's spinning out of control as well. So I believe in meditation, because even if many people say to me, I don't meditate well, I still have thoughts. Of course you're going to have thoughts. I don't even know that when we're dead that we're not having thoughts, because we're on the other side. We will have thoughts. So you definitely will have thoughts. Bring your thoughts down. Calm them down. Meditation is a great tool to help us to relax, but there are definite relaxation methods where we can train ourselves to go into this soothing, almost trance state. There's the Silva method of bringing ourselves down. Let's just cut it from 10 to 1. See the ruler, the slider, to bring you down from 10 to 9 to 8. It helps you to just count down, down, and down, because you need to eliminate all the thoughts. When we are everywhere, we are nowhere. And we are spinning. We cannot multitask in our minds because it's just impossible. We're losing focus. So yeah, that's a huge problem, but it's solvable. Meditation, you don't need to be perfect. It's just about calmness, bringing it down.
I think that's a really important point, that it's not about being perfect. I know when I got into TM a number of years ago, and my instructor would always say, you'll have these random thoughts going through your head, and he would be like, broccoli. Broccoli was always his idea of a random thought. It was so funny; it had everybody laughing. And I don't often think of broccoli, but whenever I do have that random thought, I realize, no, it's okay. And then you just quiet it down again, and you can get into that stillness that is magical. I always recommend meditation to people if it's something that intrigues them. I think it is a doorway to absolute peace and magic.
It absolutely is. And it's when we have these thoughts that pop in, I regard them to be my friends. So I say, friends, not now, later. Push them away. The minute you start fighting your thoughts, you increase them. Whatever you focus on, you make more of. So don't. Let it go. Thank you, not now. And let's go into this moment right now. And again, it's being imperfect. Nothing is perfect, but making a small beginning is huge. So the best way to start is with maybe 5 minutes. And if you can't dedicate, for example, to do that in the morning, do it in the evening. Do it during lunch. Do it while you have a cup of coffee, while you walk. Just at some point, you need to really calm yourself down, because in our world, everything is geared to split our attention. The more split our attention is, the more we are going external, and that is going away from our power, from our source, which is within. It's almost as if it fractures us. So if you want to become whole and strong and empowered, it is by going within into the source that is all yours, but it is in calmness, because you're pulling all the pieces together into one. That's your power.
No, you were preaching to the choir when with me, and I remember one incident where my meditation really paid off. Many incidents, but this one sticks with me. I used to live next door to some people that I shall just call the neighbors from hell. And one day they flooded the crawl space underneath my house. One of their irrigation lines had broken. And I came back from tennis and I was thigh deep in my front yard in water. Yeah, no, we're talking a lot of water. So I went over and knocked on the door and they didn't answer. They were home, but they didn't answer. And I went to the street and I turned off the water and left them a note, figuring at some point they're going to need water and they'll have to come over. So I'd never met him before, the husband. And he shows up at my front door and he starts screaming at me, just screaming, totally out of control. And I just stilled myself. I just became really still. And I just let all that energy flow around me. And the stiller I became, the more agitated he became. And he was there with one of his goon friends, and his friends started looking at him like, "What is wrong with you?" And it was such an interesting moment, because by choosing not to engage and react in such negativity, everything shifted.
Yeah.
And finally, he ran out of all this awful negative energy. And I said, "Shall we just get some information?" And he starts screaming again. So we went through this iteration several times. And at this point, it's almost becoming funny, and I'm trying not to laugh. But I credit my meditation practice for giving me the peace and the presence of mind to be still and not be reactive. And I think the situation turned out much better than it otherwise could have.
Absolutely. It's don't fuel a fire. That's exactly what you
Yeah.
did. Stay calm because you had the upper hand. You held the upper. People who scream and yell do not have the upper hand. It may sound that way, but they do not. You had the upper hand because you controlled the situation. That's almost like being in a trance, and you are the one that is though guiding the other one. Let them scream. It has to run out. It's again releasing his anger. He had to release his anger, and you allowed him to do that over and over again. It was potentially not even over the water that he had to have all of this release. That was
Yeah.
much, much more that came out that he needed to just pretty much vomit out of his mouth. And he did. And he probably felt much better. He needed therapy, by the way, definitely. And you gave it to him free of charge.
Yeah, you've had such an interesting series of bumps in your life. And I know that none of them have been easy, particularly as a young girl and everything, moving into, a new school and some of the business bumps and everything else. If you could rewrite your story, would you?
No, 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 absolutely not. Would I change certain things that I did? Probably, but could I? No, because those were things that I needed to learn. So therefore, it would probably be the same thing. No, I would not rewrite my story. And I know from spirit that I needed to go through this so that I learn, so that I grow. Would I have liked to learn it faster? Yep. Would have liked to be there sooner. But it's all part of a journey. And when I look back, no, I like it. It was good. And I see from other people, there's not one person on this planet that is not going to be challenged with bumps in the road. We have to have the bump. The bump is the moment of awakening. If we don't get the bump, then we are in denial. We are probably living in some sort of other reality. We have to have the bumps. It's waking up in the morning is a bump in the road. One state ended so that another one can come in. We have to have the bumps. How we deal with the bumps makes all the difference. I think that's really the awakening part when we say, oh, I need to change something. The more we fight it, the more we are resisting it, the harder the bump becomes. But bumps have to be in the road. There's no doubt about it. And every time when we have that bump, as we understand that this is a moment where something ends, we need to reach out, find the answers, get guidance, get help from wherever it comes. But very often when we get guidance and we ask for help, then we don't accept it. You go, oh, that couldn't be it. Yeah, it could be it. Go there, do that. And then we will get to where we want to be. Are these bumps easy? No, they never are. Are they gorgeous? Yes, they are.
Thank you for listening. I hope you'll support this podcast by becoming a Bump 2 subscriber. Buy us a cup of coffee. It's your support that makes this podcast and website possible. I hope you found something in today's podcast that inspires you along your own life's path, because sometimes a bump in the road is actually a portal into a more conscious and meaningful life.